I want a heart that forgives, a heart full of love, one with compassion.
Hello and welcome once more to TLC, Transforming Lives Continually. I am Sean Devines Daniel. On set with me again is Mr. Michael Stewart. Mr. Michael Stewart is the author of 3 books, and today we will be discussing one of his books, 7 Keys to Unlocking the Mysteries of Men. All right, welcome once more, Michael.
Thank you very much, Sean. Glad
it's
to
always
be
a
here.
pleasure having you.
Yes.
And it's exciting to have you with us because we say 7 keys, but this was a 2-part discussion that we had. So today we're going to go straight into the book and we're going to talk about tuning into his frequency, tuning into your man's frequency. What is a man's frequency?
Well, let's just for the sake of the viewers who may not have seen the first program to recognize that the book is really helping women to understand men and men to be able to place their fingers on some of the things that they grapple with.
Right.
Because sometimes as men, we don't understand what we are going through. We just know that we are going through some stuff, but we don't know. And the book helps us to understand that. So these are the 7 keys that would unlock that mystery. I'm sure that there are more, but
Right.
those are the ones that I felt critical to be able to deal with.
Yes, because I see you said here, helping men to label feelings and providing explanations to women.
That's right. That's right.
So quickly, could we talk about
Tuning into his frequency.
Yes, tuning into his frequency.
If you want to reach a man, because what the book tries to do is help women to understand how to reach a man, and a woman needs to tune into his frequency. There's a time that a man is not accessible emotionally, mentally, and particularly if he is very absorbed with doing something that preoccupies him. We did say in other programs that a man is single task and a woman is multitasking type of person. So a multitasking woman assumes that a man is also multitasker too, but he's not necessarily. If he's therefore preoccupied watching a ball game that he's very interested in, it is hard for him to hear and to give equal attention to something else. So if you want to really catch him, you've got to tune into the frequency that he's at. If he is dealing with a particular pain and hurt and so on, it may not be the right time to deal with him. So a woman needs to be able to know at which point that a man is reachable. Because we say that there are 3 things that a man ought to be: reachable, teachable, and reasonable.
Right.
And he's not always reachable. And if he has problems on the job, it may not be the time to raise issues concerning the children. If he's having financial problems, it may not be the time to ask him to be able to put out some more expenditure on a particular matter. It may be best to just delay that.
Right. And in the book you talk about men do not change frequency as frequent as women. Just explain that briefly.
Well, women change their frequency quite frequently. Sometimes women are moody. So sometimes they're happy, next time they're sad. One time they're vexed and so on. And so we more or less keep a frequency that we are in and we hold it for a little while. But when we lose that and we go into our cave, we go into our area of solitude and withdrawal and so on, we may stay in there a little while also. And then when we come out to stay there a little while. A woman goes in and out almost freely into her quiet time, into her vexation time, into her time that she wants to be a recluse and so on. And sometimes as men, we don't understand why it must swing so often. And then every month, in some women, they make that swing, and that heavy swing. And so you find that a man does not make that and cannot associate with a woman who does. But you'll also find that a woman who does it frequently doesn't understand why is it he does not change the mood that he's in now, because she might be ready for him to change into a different
You're
mood.
making us women sound as if we bipolar, you know?
Well, that's another program.
Okay. And you said here, I want to ask you this. What would you say is that ultimate frequency that you talk about in the book? That ultimate frequency between a man and a woman?
When the man is at his happiest, most contented, and he's happiest when he's most contented, when he thinks that he is in control of his circumstances. If his life is off balance for one reason or the other, either on the job or his finances or domestic, then he's not in a position to be reached. As one of the things that would also put a man off is his sexual desires. If he's not being satisfied and gratified as far as sex is concerned, you may find that he's angry about things that you may not be able to connect back that is sex. So he's irritable with the condition of the house. The house is nasty, the children making too much noise. But sometimes it's because sexually he's not satisfied. He desires it, he doesn't get it, or he does not getting it to his satisfaction, or something is going through his own heart, his own mind, that causes him to be irritable and also make him not to be accessible on his frequency.
Right, and so there are a number of things that will help women to tune into a man's frequency.
Yes.
And I see one of them you have is timing. So we just talk about that briefly.
Yes.
You talk about timing. You also talk about what you see. What we say as women. You know, sometimes I think as women, we don't really think we have a problem and we want to just get it done, we want to deal with it, and we're not thinking clearly. So you say what you say. Could you just explain that to us, what you say?
Well, the way you say something, a man would take it in a particular, for example, a woman would want to raise the issue that she needs money to do something in the house. She has to be careful that she does not raise it giving the impression she's blaming him for her not having money.
Okay.
When he might be trying hard, he might be working extra hours, but he might not be able to bring the kind of finances at the time that the woman may want. But she may interpret it as a blame when she says, listen, we run out of this again. So the way you say it is going to now translate in a particular way. So it is really always best to be able to say it in the kind of way that brings in, keeps his ego in check.
Right.
If you call a man and you ask him where he is, may give the impression that he is asked to report. Whereas if you just state what you want, I would like you to bring home bread for me. If it's no inconvenience to you, could you just buy it on the way home? You don't need to ask him where he is.
Right.
You see? So it is how you couch, how you phrase your statement.
Excellent. So let's go to something in chapter 4 that I love that you said, to get close to a man, you have to step back.
Yes.
Wow, that's a challenge for women.
Oh, yes.
You're in love, you really want to step back.
Yes.
You know, so give us some insight on that.
When a man meets a woman, the woman almost moves in psychologically.
That is my man.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
So she takes over the house of his head.
Yes.
So she calls him almost every day. She wants to know whether he's okay. She wants to make sure he's well fed. And it's more or less, she inundates him with her. Because we are not into that inundation. We are not into that superimposition of somebody in our lives. You may find that there are times that the man becomes so frustrated with her presence that he tries to distance himself. The closer she tries to get is the more that he would want to withdraw from her. So sometimes when he's going through his issues, just step back and leave him be. Especially if a man is going through some troubling times in his life, he would rather come up with his solutions and then tell you than to tell you while he's going through it. But the woman, in her natural nature, would want to know, what is wrong? Is something bothering you? Is there something I can help? Because she naturally wants to be part of
Fix it.
Right.
Yes.
But that may be interpreted as nagging. So sometimes just offer it and step back. And I usually use the example when my brother died. It's not a time that you want to sit down and explain your feelings. It is a painful time. And I'm fortunate that my wife understood me in a way that she stayed close enough to know that she was there supporting me, but did not ask me or come and give me the pressure to have to share some of this stuff. Because what that does, especially in the moment of the news, it causes you to have to break down. You are more concerned about you losing your manhood and you're being emasculated as a man,
Right,
not wanting to
yes.
break down and so on, rather than sharing. So she withdrew. I was able to be given a time by myself to come to terms with the news, to deal with it. And then at the right time, we were able to now share how I really felt.
Great. So how close is too close for a woman to get at that time? I mean, how close is too close?
Well, you know, the Bible says deal with them according to knowledge. You've got to
Yes.
know your man. You've got to know whether and what he's comfortable with. It is the level of comfort, how long the relationship has been, how long you've been married to the man, how good the quality of relationship is with the two people, the nature of the information. So there are some women who share with their girlfriends. We are scared of your girlfriends because we know your girlfriend know a lot of stuff.
Yes.
A lot of stuff that happened with us, a lot of stuff that happening at home. They know our faults. They know where we've gone wrong. So we may be hesitant to a wife or a spouse who always chatting with a friend.
Yes.
So we may not want to give her the information
Right.
because it may be put outside.
Yes, and you know, saying that too, I had an experience last week where this woman was complaining about the man to me, and the man was there. That's an awkward position
Yeah.
to be in. And this is a man, he's very quiet, and you could actually see her beating this man down with what she was saying, and you could actually see him shrinking, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that was sad.
So you don't want that. So a man would not share with a woman he doesn't trust his information with.
Yes, yes. I saw here you said you were talking about transitory men. Explain that to us.
That's a man who comes but doesn't plan to stay. So he is in transit.
Ooh.
You see?
Yes.
So therefore, that transitory man would be prepared to be as nice as he can. He'll be prepared to put up a lot of stuff because he knows that he'll be gone soon.
Oh, so you mean that's the guy that would visit?
Yes, the visiting man.
Okay.
You see?
Excellent.
So those,
Yeah.
but you can tell a transitory man because the man has a history of being transitory. So sometimes just talk to him about his previous relationships, and you can tell.
So there's not much commitment.
That's
this
right.
man.
Those are people. Commitment is not it. Newness is it. What excites them is something fresh on the
Fresh
market.
and new.
Right.
Wow, like a lot of stuff is deep stuff. What are some phrases that women use to scare men off? You know, because we were talking about being too close to a man.
Yes.
What are some phrases that we could use that would scare a man off?
Well, again, it depends on where stage the relationship is at. And I think there are 3 of them that I referred to in the book. When you tell a woman tells a man, let's get married. That is commitment. Commitment for some men is really a very big word. Kissing, making love, fine. Going out, being my girlfriend, fine. But marriage sounds so long term.
Yes.
So it becomes a difficulty if the relationship has not met to the stage of stability to raise the issue of marriage. It does not mean that he would not get married, but if it raised too early in the game, it could scare him off. Secondly, I am pregnant. Because sometimes you find, and in many cases, the man is not out for children. Children become part of. In fact, most people have children quite accidentally and not planned. And most men become fathers by chance. So, and that's why a lot of men not committed to the process.
Right.
And some women become pregnant by chance, but because they had 9 months of bonding, they're able to stay longer. But the man never had the bonding time. So if it was not a child he planned, and the woman became pregnant, it is easy for him to walk off after that.
Oh.
And to get scared of all of these issues of having to deal with a child and having to deal with things and so on. So let's get married. I am pregnant and I love you.
And I love you.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that sister should wait and let the man say I love you first?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
So
all right
girls
if
only
you-
hearing that, eh? Wait. You might be tempted, but you wait.
You see, because what we interpret as love and what you interpret as love, we have 2 different definitions.
So that
of it.
comes back to the frequencies, the idea of the conversation we're having about frequency.
Frequent. No, this one is really the way how we interpret the world differently.
Oh, okay.
If a woman tells a man, I love you, the average man in his head means, I am now given license to have sex. Because love is directly linked to sex
course.
in his head.
Yes.
So now she's saying, I am in the mood for sex. I'm in the mood for love. Because that's where we link it, mood for love. When the woman says, I love you, she means that the connection that we have is something that I'm willing to be part of your life with. And we never look at it that long term.
Right.
So we would accept the I love you, but then when we realize the I love you remains even after the sex, then we begin to say, she plans to stay around for a long time. And so, you know, you have to now reassess yourself and ask yourself, was this you bargained for in the relationship? So before we start talking about love, we have to start dealing with the quality of relationship. Where is my head? Where is your head? Is there something that we have going for us that means that we are going to be staying in this relationship for a long time?
Right. I see you say closeness means commitment, but it also means exclusion.
Yes. So, and particularly in the mind of the woman. So when a woman gets close to a man, she's also saying that I'm drawing a boundary mark around you, that she does not want another woman in the process of it. So
stating her claim.
Right. So, but when a man is with a woman, in his head, it should not cause him to make any adjustment, in some men, any adjustment with his other female friends.
Right. Yeah.
But she stakes a claim, and she stakes a claim to his cell phone calls, that I must not hear a female voice on the other end. Even if you say it's your co-worker, the question is, why is your co-worker calling you?
Right.
You see?
Yes.
Now, some of these things that we're saying, we as men also have the same issues with women.
Right.
So don't,
Of course.
right now we're talking about men.
Men, yes. Well, I'll be getting a lot of links to people saying, are you only talking about this and only making us women song as if we're crazy? But right now we're dealing with men.
Yes, because that's what the book is.
That's exactly.
It's unlock the mysteries of men.
Good.
Because we also will have a problem with a man in your work calling you 7 o'clock in the
definitely,
night, right?
Yeah.
But in the case of a man, the woman would have a problem in having to call. Why would she need to call you? Can't she call somebody else? Why did she didn't wait till work next day? You see?
Yeah.
So that claim that she starts to put down, that becomes the exclusion that she now needs to see in the relationships that you have.
Great. And you talk about respect his privacy.
Yes.
I know that's a major issue for men, and you spoke a little bit about it before.
That's right. That's why we don't want our women having to share our faults with somebody else. Because we like the idea of thinking that we are in control and we're in charge and we're on top of things, we're on top of our games. If therefore that we're on top of our game and somebody else would have to hear about our problems and hear about our faults, we'll have a problem with that. So we have a private life, very, very private. This is why most men do not go for counseling. It's the exposing of private stuff.
And that has something to do with the ego too.
Right. The ego says vulnerability and that I am not in control of it. This is why I'm seeking help.
Right.
So psychologically, we want to think we're in charge. We still think that we're on top of things. It is only at extreme cases, crisis, that a man may very well go for counseling. Same thing with our health. We would not go to the doctor because that admits that I'm not so well. So if it is only something that the symptom lasting really too long and it indicates this might be a life or death, then we're going to go at that point.
Really a mystery, Michael, really a mystery. I love this part on page 40 when it said, what does a man do when he is in his private space? Big nothing. And I mean, I hear that, because sometimes I ask my husband, what are you thinking? Because, he might be so quiet. What are you thinking? Nothing.
Yeah.
And how could we always not? Nothing? I'm always thinking about something, So please enlighten us.
So that's why they get shocked that a man can sit and do nothing and still breathe.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
But that is, we could sit there and go into what we call our favorite box, which is the nothing box. Nothing is going on there. We are just staring. We can go at the beach and fish and think of nothing. We can just sit around and just, we call it the vegetative self. Where we just exist.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes a woman tries to find out what's going on inside of there and imposing on that private time of our best time in our lives of that privacy.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, because it's hard for us as women to understand. You're just there and, babes, you okay? What are you thinking? Is everything all right? Yes, but you know something, we're really going to come back 5 minutes after and say, what you thinking? Is everything all right? I guess it's very frustrating
Yes,
for a
yes,
man,
yes.
you know? Right. I love this. He said, dealing with a man's faults and deficiencies must be handled delicately.
Yes, yes.
I love that.
Because we have faults. Trust me, we do have
You're
faults.
human.
Right.
Yes.
But coming and giving us this authoritative, this is your fault, this is what you need to do to solve it, trust me, would not get it done.
Okay.
Because it has to be done delicately. It has to be supported. It has to be helped and not necessarily directed and given instruction. One thing about men tend not to be telling another man, do this, do that.
So what do men talk about with their guy friends?
So when we gather together, we talk about cars, we talk about the weather, we talk about politics, we talk about everything else. And if we need to talk about something that's bothering us, it is to somebody who, when they respond to us, is not going to direct our lives. It is another guy who listens to what you're saying and then would come out frankly in a way that a man could appreciate. So he may say, boy, you too stupid, if it was me. And he would say what it has to do. If you don't take the advice, it does not disrupt the relationship. Now, I think where the clinch is to have it with a woman, if the man doesn't deal with what she advises, then sometimes she gets upset that he's not taking action. So a man has a good chance of advising his friend because he knows I still have the freedom to choose whether to take your advice or not.
Right. Let's talk a little bit about men and midlife crisis.
Yes.
You know, what are some of the myths of that? People say a whole lot of things. They don't believe that men go through midlife crisis. Is that so? They even call it andropause.
Okay.
I know you're not a medical doctor, but
yes.
But let's talk a little bit about men and midlife crisis.
Well, midlife crisis is something that creeps up on a man, and it's really things that takes on new definition at the middle of his life. A man's life is really 10, it's about 70. So half of that is really in his 30s, 40s. During that time, in his 30s, 40s, a lot of things begin to change in his life.
In 40s.
Right.
Okay.
When he was 16, 17, he was invincible, powerful. Death was not part of his vocabulary. Strong, could have gone for days with no sleep, would have done something. By the time he's 40, a number of things begin to take place. His shape changes. His body starts to take on a whole new psychology of its own.
I never knew you guys had those issues, I mean, I thought we were the ones that, had all those issues.
We were looking good when we were 17. Now we are very conscious of the young boys that have the body that we knew we used to have.
Really, Michael?
Yes.
Wow! That is a mystery for me.
That has been with the flat stomach, and we say that's how I used to be. We see the guys with the muscles, and now we recognize that before, when you squeeze our muscles, it bounced back. Now you squeeze it, it takes a while to come back to its shape.
If it comes back at all.
If it comes back at all. So we are conscious of that, but we are also conscious of our mortality. That before, death wasn't part of it. This is why we did some of the things we did that were so risky to our health, but we never saw it. But now that we have midlife crisis, we begin to see our parents go down in age. They are the ones who, the very tablets that our parents were taking for high blood pressure and diabetes, we have just started taking them.
Right.
And then we start to say, but that's the tablet my parents used to take.
I am becoming my father.
That's right. So a lot of things start to take a different thing. Then we start to reflect on our lives and start to say, what have I to show for 40 years on this earth? It is then that during the time that I was not trying to put a good bank account in place, it is then that I was not trying to develop my career, and all of that becomes so critical, and the person sometimes becomes very frustrated when they look back and they tell themselves that they really have nothing. Some of them, people are still renting, and they say, I should not have been renting because I had enough money that passed through my hand. I should have bought my own property. A number of things that they begin to look back and say, I am not satisfied. That dissatisfaction sends you into crisis.
All right. Let's talk briefly on sexual dysfunction. in men, especially I guess midlife crisis, and how as women, as wives, do we entreat with that if our husbands, facing that issue?
Well, again, your age of 17, 16, 18, 20, sex, priority. Even at 40, sex is a priority. But your ability to deliver on your threat you were in a better position to do so than you may be in 40. So you may have been able to have sex 3 or 4 times in a day. But now you may not be able to make it twice in one night. And in some cases, you cannot make it in a night or in a particular day because your body just not it, because you are weaker, you're probably not as nutritioned as you should be, and especially if there are a number of other lifestyle things that you have, the drinking, smoking, etc. That is now going to do that. So you'll also experience some of the times that you have premature ejaculation or impotency. Well, it's not that it is a problem that you're medically impotent, but a particular night or day that you just can't get it up. You're just not able to do so. That bothers a man. And that also could send him into crisis and cause him not to be too confident in making love to his spouse, especially if the spouse does not respond right or appropriately, is the better word, to his inability or his premature ejaculation, because she may not be satisfied. The way she deals with that could shut down his body from being attracted or being turned on or having him desire her. So he now needs a newness, somebody who doesn't know him, to be able to now explore. That newness gives him back his vigor. A woman that he has just seen and likes sends him back to his 16, 17-year-old days. And now he's able to do so. But again, he might need to move and become transitory with that person, because that person now takes on the knowledge of the wife, and he's got to move again. Newness again.
Wow. And this topic that I really want us to touch on is, you said in chapter 7 that men love sex and nothing you do will change that.
And you better believe it.
Yes.
Men love sex. Now, we hear women say that, listen, men love too much sex. We wasting time arguing on that, because that is a fait accompli.
So just get with the program.
Just get with the program.
Okay.
You see, the average man loves sex. In fact, one speaker I heard say that if a man has a woman that loves more sex than him, as men, we hate that man.
Okay.
Because you should never get to the point that your spouse loves sex more than you. You see? And nothing that you do can change that. Now, if a man is sexually gratified, he is reachable, he's teachable, and he's reasonable. And he's mostly reasonable after the gratification.
When you talk about men around that age group, you see a trend where they're always premarital relationships. That has something to do with what's going on around that time in their lives, you think?
Explain that question. Explain that question.
Men in their 60s, 70s, yeah, we know people say, oh, it's midlife crisis because you have a young thing.
Or extramarital. Okay, all right. So, one is that he's trying to gain back his youthfulness, especially if his wife would have allowed herself to have lost her. There's a... Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Because sometimes a woman becomes so comfortable in the relationship that she starts to think herself, I'm an old person, I'm aged, but I've seen some senior women who look as neat, comfortable, and lovely as ever. Yes, they do. But there are some who just think that they have given up all of this in life. And so the man now he goes after a resurrection of a feeling, the woman he once had. And when you look at it, many times the woman that he goes and he flings with has some sort of similarity to his wife. Wow. In many cases.
That's interesting.
Yes.
That is so interesting.
So, one of the things that I find interesting is that if, in the case of a woman, when you go to the gym and you see women who go to the gym, you'll find that many of them are resurrecting a relationship, and so therefore going to the gym in order to keep that. And you speak to the gym people, once they've settled down in a relationship and married, or whatever it is, are committed, they no longer go back to the gym until the relationship is broken up again. And then she starts dressing up, she starts going out, she starts doing everything again, and so on. And you just do that random check, and you can see. One study showed, they did a survey to show people in the lingerie and so on, and they said the women who came in for those very sexy clothing, they found a women who are not married getting into relationships, and women who are married, when they come in there, it is really because they are early in the marriage. And those who come in there who have been married for a long time came in there because they are in a relationship with somebody else. So it shows that sometimes a woman figures, if I'm in a marriage, I really don't need to work so hard on myself to be attractive and desirable. I should be naturally desired. And it doesn't happen so.
We need to change that mindset.
Well, you know, if the study is right.
So, Michael, it is always so great to have you with us. It's always, you have so much to share with us. Ladies and gentlemen, please get this book, 7 Keys to Unlocking the Mysteries of Men. And Michael, where can they contact you?
They can call the telephone number, the office, 635-1801, or email us at michaelatstewart@gmail.com.
To Unlocking the Mysteries of Men. Get the book, get it for your daughters, they're getting married, get it for a cousin. And please, again, as we said before, contact Mr. Stewart. Let him know if you like the program, if you like what he said. Give us some feedback. We really want to hear from you. So thank you so much for viewing TLC, Transforming Lives Continually. And as Michael loved to say, also tender loving care. Yes, tender loving care. So thank you so much for viewing TLC. I am Sean Devines Daniel with Mr. Michael A.T. Stewart. God bless you. We love you. Bye-bye.
I want a heart that forgives, a heart full of love, one with compassion just like yours above, one that overcomes evil with goodness and love.